Greatest of mornings, everyone. My name is Mario A. Reed. I'm the managing law partner for the Martin Law Group. And today is Sunday, September 28, 2025. The time is 8:50 a.m. We are going to open up our session. So let me go ahead and let those who are waiting in the waiting room, I'm going to invite everyone in. Greatest of mornings, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in as everyone continues to funnel on in. If you'll please just remember to mute your audio as we don't want any of the background noise impacting anything we got going on. We're going to be getting started officially at 9 a.m. So I'm going to go ahead and continue setting up my screen. We're also going to go ahead and start live streaming over on Facebook Live. So if you are watching on Facebook Live, you will have the opportunity to do so. So everyone's aware this session is being videotaped and recorded. Make sure I got my audio on. Okay. Is being videotaped and recorded, and it'll be available for the playback on YouTube. So for any who aren't able to make it, you will be able to watch it back on YouTube. The YouTube page is the Law Offices of Mario A. Reed. So I'm going to go ahead and head over to YouTube right now so everybody can see what that page looks like. All of the sessions, the Sunday sessions with the Education Esquire, they will be available via the YouTube page. I'm going to go ahead and organize those as a playlist so that way those will be all in that same playlist. But let me make sure that we are live on Facebook. So, all right. This session is called Assessing and Evaluating the Trust Fund ETFs. And we are going to be discussing a lot of the exchange trading funds that most of us are using as a part of our trust funds. As a quick recap, remember, a trust fund is just an account that you've opened up in the name of your trust. A trust fund can be a checking account. A trust fund can be a savings account. A trust fund can be a brokerage account. A trust fund can be your a piggy bank that's in the name of the trust. So a trust fund is just an account that's open, or funds, not even an account, but it could be cash that's intended for the purpose of a trust. So it's not complicated. It's not something which requires a lot of studying and understanding. It's very straightforward. If you have a trust and you have funds that are dedicated for that trust, then you have a trust fund. It is as straightforward and as simple as can be. So we're going to be discussing what that looks like. Many of us have a brokerage account, myself included, and lots of individuals who I've worked with. We have brokerage accounts, and those brokerage accounts are heavily invested or somewhat invested into a variety of exchange trading funds. An exchange trading fund is just a collection of stocks. So let me go ahead and share my screen so everybody can see that we are active. So we are on Facebook Live. For those who wish to watch on Facebook Live, there is the video for that. And we will also be on Zoom. I recommend Zoom because it enables you to be able to input your questions. It allows for you to be able to also get quicker feedback. On Facebook, I got to go back and forth, so I may miss questions. Whereas if you're on the Zoom, I'm more likely to be able to see that question, get it answered in real time. So if possible, highly recommend Zoom. But if not, Facebook Live is available as well. The playback will be available on YouTube. So when you go right to YouTube, you can just type in the Law Offices of Mario A. Reed. Once you type in the Law Offices of Mario A. Reed, it'll bring up the channel. So it's this channel right here. And it has all of the videos. Most people have watched episode 4 of the videos, and that's because that's the one which explains how you can open up a brokerage account in the name of your trust. So episode 4 talks about how to open a brokerage account in the name of the trust, and that's with Charles Schwab. There are several other videos. Episode 8 shows you how to execute a trade, and that's via Charles Schwab. That trade that I execute is for the ETF, which is ULTY, ALTI. we're going to be talking about Alti today. We're going to talk about a lot of the funds because we're going to be looking at how to assess and evaluate the funds. There are going to be several websites which I'm going to cover. I highly recommend if you have notes or pen and paper to take down notes, you do so. But as you have questions, go ahead and type them into the chat group. Go ahead and put those questions right into the chat group, and then I'll make certain to get as many of them answered as possible. So we're going to be going through how to assess and evaluate all of the different ETFs, the dividend paying funds that most of us are using as a part of our trust funds. So a website that you can already kind of take down as a note, if you're in the Kipwa group, it's Dividend Hook. That's a phenomenal website. Stock Analysis is another website which you want to make certain that you have in place. We all should be familiar with Stock Analysis. And then another website that you want to be familiar with, it's not, well, I guess it is a website technically, but it's just Google. And it's using the prompt of HOOY stock performance. And it could be any ticker symbol. So it doesn't just have to be HOOY, it can be any ticker symbol. I'm going to change my search engine, and I'm glad I did this because for some reason it keeps switching to Yahoo, and I don't like Yahoo. I want Google because Google is better. So this is what it brought up when I did it via the Yahoo search engine, and then HOOY stock performance. This is what it brings up when I do the Google. This is the one we want. We want for this resource. This financial tool is so beneficial. So we're going to be looking at the 6 months. And this is going to make a whole lot more sense before the end of the workshop. So just as a reminder, this session will be available for playback via the YouTube page of Law Offices of Mario A. Reed. It'll be available probably tomorrow because it takes a little while for it to upload. And I got some other work in which I'll be working on. So once it is that gets uploaded, I'll make sure to post that in the group as well as post it on my Facebook page. If you're watching on Facebook Live, greatest of mornings to you over there. So we will be getting started in 3 minutes. YouTube page, it's a good idea if you got pen and paper to take down notes. If you have questions, go ahead and post them in the chat group on Zoom. Let's take a look and see. So good morning, greatest of mornings to everyone. It is fantastic to see you. As those of you know, I'm not as big a fan of the virtual sessions, but it's a tool and a resource that's available, and I want to make sure that as much as possible, make as many opportunities available. I found out some incredibly exciting news on yesterday that we're going to be covering that I cannot wait to share with you all. This information is something in which, again, I just found out yesterday. Lots of people say, well, why do you keep going to additional sessions? And hey, if you're not into it, it's fine by me. But every single day, there's potentially something new which can be found. And it's remarkable because it's something which, in my opinion, I was already aware of, but I had never put it together in this format. And the reason why is because I wasn't using this resource of Dividend Hook. I want to shout out Jeff Nargis. I grew up with Jeff. We went to grade school together, high school, and he's one of my clients. I'm one of his clients. He's a business owner, owns an HVAC company, and he shared this resource with me. It was early in the morning, and I didn't even really pay attention to it all that much. But with finally having a little bit of opportunity, a long layover in between REL's matches on yesterday, got a chance to really dig into this resource, and this resource is incredible. So again, I want to start with dividendhook.com is a resource you should make sure is on your radar. This resource is so incredible. It's just so phenomenal because it does a lot of the work for you without you having to do that work. And when it comes to these funds, it's very important to understand the computation because all of this works based on the computation. I swear that I put on the option to just admit everyone, but we're going to see if it works. So, all right, greatest of mornings, everyone. It is 9 a.m. We are going to get started because there's a lot of information in which I will be covering. As always, my name is Mario A. Reed. I'm the managing law partner for the Lumarti Law Group and also one of the members of the knowledge movement. I like to say that I'm a member because we're all learning from one another. I'm very fortunate and thankful to have gotten a head start on a lot of this information, and I want to make sure that you all get caught up as quickly as possible. You can tune into this session in two different ways. On Facebook Live, it's available. Just go right to the page. But because I've been put into, I guess, Facebook jail for sharing this kind of information, only my friends are able to watch via Facebook Live. If you're not a friend of mine on Facebook, you can't watch. However, you can watch on Zoom, and you do not have to be my friend. So I highly recommend heading over to Zoom. It's a great format. It allows for me to be able to get those questions answered a lot quicker. Today, we're going to be covering the evaluation and the assessment of the various funds. So there's a lot of people who have started to take advantage of this information, and I am absolutely over the moon because of it, because the goal is to grow wealth, but also to grow knowledge about financial literacy. And this is something in which I wish I would have known about years ago. So that's the reason why I started the knowledge movement. In starting the knowledge movement and really making it a priority, we focused on the dividend paying funds. And for those who are unaware, really quickly, I'm going to go over what that dividend paying fund is. It's an exchange traded fund, ETF. I hear a lot of people say EFT. It's not EFT. It is E for exchange, T for traded or trading, F for funds, exchange traded funds or exchange trading funds. That's a collection of various stocks, which instead of you going and purchasing them individually, the company that's offering that particular ETF, they do all the work for you. So they go get the different funds, go get the different stocks. One of the most popular ones that I first started with is SPY. SPY is the stock symbol for the ETF, which tracks the S&P 500. So instead of you going and purchasing all 500 of the companies that are part of the Standard & Poor's top 500 companies, SPY is a fund, an exchange traded fund, which does that for you. And as the companies shuffle in and out of the S&P 500, then SPY handles that for you. So an exchange traded fund or an exchange trading fund is just a collection of stocks that does the work of investing for you. It is one of the easiest ways to invest. Instead of you having to do all kinds of research and reading the charts, you can just purchase the ETF and it's going to do the work. Over the last, 9 months since December, I've been really focusing on and talking about taking advantage of dividend paying funds as a part of our portfolios with our brokerage accounts. And I've focused on the yield max funds. However, I want to make sure everyone's aware there are dozens of different companies that offer these types of funds. And you do not have to just use yield max funds. Yield max is what it is that I've been typically using, but it's not a requirement. I'm also going to be sharing, and I'm just going to cut right to the chase on the announcement, that there are weekly payer funds through Roundhill, which are even more lucrative than the yield max funds. So that's the major announcement. Within the first 5 minutes, I have now shared it, and I want everyone to be clear. There are Roundhill funds which are even more lucrative than the yield max funds. So that's the big announcement. Not going to bury the lead, not going to cause you to wait here for the whole hour and a half to get it. The information is meant to be shared. So when it comes time for you to evaluate and essentially kind of figure out how to determine which fund is worth your while, there are some steps and some techniques that you need to be very familiar with. So the first one is that you can just take advantage of the technology. So if you go right to Google, you can type in highest yielding weekly dividend ETF. And I'm going to leave this on the screen for a while so that everybody can see it. So One of the things that is important to understand, and I'm very grateful, my undergraduate is in journalism. So I graduated from Columbia College, Chicago. Shout out to one of the greatest uh, liberal arts schools in the game. Well, I guess technically not liberal arts, but one of the greatest arts schools in the game. And as a part of my undergraduate education, it was a focus on research. It was a focus on investigation. It was a focus on getting to the who, what, where, when, why, and how. So using Google in that same approach has been so beneficial for me. So if you're curious about something, you just go to Google and you ask it. But it's really important that you ask it in such a way where you get the proper answer. So in this scenario, you can go to Google and type in highest yielding weekly dividend ETF. That's the search term that I recommend you take advantage of. Right now, because Google is on the AI kick, it's going to synthesize the information in a paragraph. I don't recommend relying on that because we don't know the quality of AI just yet. I recommend go look at the links. So you want to get into the habit of actually clicking on the links and doing the research for yourself. So Stock Analysis is a website that everybody who's curious about this information should be familiar with. Stock Analysis is a website that I look at daily, and that's because it gives me the information and the content that I'm most interested in having. It allows for you to be able to make the assessments and make the evaluations on your own. You need that data in order to be able to figure it out. It thankfully has compiled a list of several of the weekly dividend ETFs. So instead of you going manually and trying to figure out about these different ETFs, it's already compiled all the information right there for you. So it's bringing up a list of 57 ETFs, exchange traded funds, which are high yield dividend income paying funds. So right there, we just saved countless hours of research. Information is already there. Stock Analysis is a phenomenal tool and resource. Favorite it, save it, screenshot it, however it is that you do it, use this. When we're evaluating all of these funds, there are essentially yield, NAV erosion, payout, as well as, so there's four factors. There are four factors that we need to be taking into consideration when we are evaluating and assessing these various funds. So the first factor that we want to take into consideration is the dividend yield percentage. The dividend yield percentage. That's the first factor which we care about because that's how much money we're getting paid. And I'm going to show you how to actually calculate your dividend yield percentage because this dividend yield percentage is based on the last year. So TSYY's dividend yield percentage over the last year is 140.98%. Most people would look at that number and say, perfect, let me take that fund. Not so easy. As Lee Corso used to say, not so fast, my friends. We don't want to just look at the dividend yield percentage because that's not the only number that matters. The second factor that we want to take into consideration is the stock performance. And I recommend over the last 6 months. So first thing is dividend yield percentage. Second thing is the stock performance over the last 6 months. That's what we want to be on the lookout for. The third thing that we want to be on the lookout for is payout frequency. Payout frequency. So first thing, dividend yield percentage. Second thing, we want to focus on the stock performance over the last 6 months. Third thing is payout frequency. And the fourth thing is the underlying stock or stocks, plural. So I'm going to recap. And you know what? I'm just going to type that into the chat. So for those who are watching on Zoom, you're going to be able to get this. So number one is dividend yield percentage. Number two is stock performance last 6 months. Number three is payout frequency. And number four is underlying stock or stocks. Okay, so continuing to let people in. Greatest of mornings to everybody who's still joining. Remember, the playback will be available via YouTube. So if you missed any of it, you'll be able to go back. So Eric has a question. Where do we see the payouts for these Roundhill funds? That's a great question, Eric. And stock analysis just so happens to be where you see the payouts. This is why I continue to stress that stock analysis is one of the best tools for navigating all of these funds. So one of the funds that we're going to be talking about is PLTW. So Roundhill typically uses a W for theirs. YieldMax typically uses a Y. Roundhill is typically using a W. So here's a Roundhill fund. PLTW is their version of the Palantir. The reason why Roundhill is using a W is because their funds are paying weekly. The big announcement that I've already shared is about the weekly payers. Getting paid weekly beats the pants off of getting paid every 4 weeks. And that's the major takeaway. That's the lesson in which I learned on yesterday. I know a lot of people who have came to the knowledge movement sessions will say, well, Mario, you already knew that because that's why you set up the 4 different funds in such a way where you were getting paid every week. That is correct. However, that's not even the best approach, though. The best approach, in my humble opinion, and none of this is financial advice, none of this is me trying to recommend or persuade anybody to do anything. I don't care what you do with your money. Whatever it is that you do with your money is for you. I'm simply sharing this information for educational and informational purposes. With that out of the way, getting paid weekly on the best paying fund allows for you to earn on average 3 times as much over the course of a year. And that's because of the compounding nature that accompanies weekly dividend reinvesting. And I'm going to repeat that because that was a mouthful. Getting paid weekly is far superior to getting paid every 4 weeks on the best paying funds because of the compounding nature that accompanies taking your dividends and reinvesting them on a weekly basis. And that's the major announcement. By the time we finish today, hopefully everyone will also understand that. But the key is to let your money compound quicker, because the quicker it compounds, the larger it grows. And I'm going to show you how to evaluate and assess that. So to answer the question, where do we see the payouts for these Roundhill funds? We go right to stock analysis. Once you've done so, you then can click on dividends, and it will show you your dividends dating back to typically as far back as the dividends have been paid out. So PLTW has been paying out dividends dating back to March 3rd of 2025. So we're 6 months into the game. It is important to not pay attention to this dividend yield percentage. Do not look at that dividend yield percentage because it's not accurate. This is only telling you the dividend percentage over the last 6 months. We don't necessarily care about the dividend percentage over the last 6 months. We want to look at the annualized dividend yield. And how we can do that is we can take advantage of our new resource, which is dividendhook.com. And again, I want to point out, I'm not affiliated with any of these companies. I'm not affiliated with Stock Analysis. I'm not affiliated with Dividend Hook. I don't have any stock in them. And I'm just grateful that they exist because this information is vital. So I want to shout them out, but not in the sense of they're not paying me to do it. So when we go to dividendhook.com, it asks us to estimate your ETF dividend treasure. So in this case, I'm going to type in PLTW, and then it is going to allow me to search. So PLTW is the fund, the exchange traded fund that I'm interested in searching. So I'm going to jump back and forth between stock analysis and dividend hook. Stock analysis showed us the individual dividend payouts, dollar by dollar or change by change. It then gave us a dividend yield percentage of 35.75%. Many people would look at that and say, oh, that's terrible. I won't go with that because ULTY is 85%. Not so fast, my friend. It's not that easy. And that's the reason why I wanted to do this workshop, so that you could understand the proper way to evaluate and assess. So now that we've went over here and we've looked at the actual cash amounts, we can go back to dividendhook.com and it's going to do the math for us. So instead of you adding up all of these amounts, because how to figure out the actual dividend yield for any ETF is to add up all the dividends and divide by the number of payments. That's the equation. That's the formula to figure out the actual dividend yield. We're going to add up all of our cash amounts, which in this case, stock analysis is already done for us. So the total amount of all these dividends equals $17.18. So now what we would do is we would divide that by the number of payments. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30. So what we would do, and I'm going to do it on my calculator so everybody can see it. I want everybody to understand this as best as possible. So I'm showing my work so that you can know exactly how we arrived at the result. All right, so everybody should right now be seeing my calculator. What we do is we take $17.18 and we divide that by, dang it. Does anybody remember how many payments it was? I think it was 30. If somebody could put that in the chat. How many payments? It was 30. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for locking in. It was 30. So 30. Excellent. So 1718 divided by 30 gives us 0.57. So that's 57 cents. That's the average dividend payout, 57 cents a week. That's what your average is. In order to figure out the dividend yield, we would then multiply 57 cents times 52. So now that's $29.77. That's how much we can expect to receive over the course of a year. Hopefully everybody understands that. We took the existing dividend payout amount, we divided it by the number of payments we've already received. Once we get the average dividend payout, we then multiply that by the number of payments in a year. Because it's a weekly payer, we're going to get paid 52 times. So the projected dividend payout amount for the course of a full year is $29.77. And then the last thing we do is we simply divide that number by the current share price. So divided by 47.99, and our dividend yield percentage is 62%. That's our dividend yield percentage. That's our accurate dividend yield percentage. And that's based on the current share price as well as the dividend payouts which have already been made. That's how we calculate the accurate dividend percentage. And a lot of people are going to say, well, that number varies from the dividend hook one, which was 87%. And remember, these percentages are based on someone who purchased it going back as far as they possibly could. So they got the share price, they got the shares at a lower price. Because we're looking to purchase right now, we want to do our calculation based on right now today. So that's the discrepancy. So let me go back over to dividend hook. So remember, our dividend yield percentage is 62%. Whereas when we're looking at dividend hook, it's showing the annualized dividend yield of 87%. And that's because that percentage is for somebody who got in at the beginning. We didn't get in at the beginning. So we need to evaluate these based on right now today, as opposed to going back to the beginning. All right, I'm going to pause here to see if we have questions. All right, so Bill says, how do we buy on Roundhill? So great answers, everyone. We're not buying on Roundhill. Roundhill is a company that sells ETFs just like YieldMax. And we would purchase Roundhill shares, PLTW, through our brokerage account, the same way we would PLTY. We're purchasing all of these different ETFs through our brokerage accounts. They're just different companies. So think of it like going to the grocery store. You can go to Jewel and you can purchase Lay's potato chips. You can also purchase Doritos. You can also purchase Jay's potato chips. ETFs are just different types of potato chips. They're made by different manufacturers and they come in different flavors. Lay's has regular, they have barbecue, they have sour cream and onion. YieldMax has PLTY, NVDY, HOOY. Then Jay's has barbecue, has regular, has sour cream and onion. So you can get these funds at Jewel, just like you can get the chips at Jewel. Jewel is the brokerage company. And just like there are different grocery stores, there are different brokerage companies. You can go get potato chips from all of them. You can find all of the Roundhill funds to select on their website. Appreciate it, JP. As always, great to see you back. Great to have you back in the mix. I want to make sure to shout out Jesse. Jesse has been a longtime friend of mine. We go back to Quincy University back in 1999, and he has been such a tremendous help to me and just causing me to step outside of my comfort zone. You want to have somebody in your circle who does that. He's also someone who's a great resource, has a lot of information. Whatever you're talking about with JP, you got to have a research because he wants to know the why. So great thing. All right. Do the Roundhill funds have the same rule of paying 90% of profit in October? And do they have the same Wednesday buy by 2 p.m. to qualify for Friday by 8 p.m. payment? No. And that's the beauty of these funds. They are different. Thankfully, they do have the same requirement of paying out 90% of their profits. I do not know which month it's by, but for all of these funds, which are engaging in trading stock options, the SEC requires that they have to pay out 90%. So they're all operating under the same set of requirements. But thankfully, these funds, most of them pay out on Tuesday. So they actually have a different date in which you have to own them in order to get paid. The record date is technically Monday, but just like with the YieldMax funds, because you have to have owned it by open of business on Monday, you need to have purchased it by close of market on Friday. So for anyone who's thinking about taking advantage, unfortunately, we've missed out for this week's payouts. But the great thing is that there's still plenty of time to get in for future weeks. So great question. So to answer the question, yes, they do have the same rule of paying out 90%. I do not know if it's by October because it's based on whenever their fiscal year is. I'm sure you can research and find that information on their website. Jesse has posted that information, their website, in the chat. Do they have the same Wednesday buy by 2 p.m.? It's not 2 p.m., it's 3 p.m. So I want to make sure we're clear on that, Mr. Ramirez. It's not 2 p.m., it's 3 p.m. We got to have our information as accurate because we don't want people having the wrong. And it's so you know what? I think I understand what you're saying. If you do 2 p.m., you're assured to get in by 3 p.m. But I want to make sure we give the accurate information. It's technically 3, but of course, if you get in by 2, you're definitely going to be good. The payments happen on Friday. Usually it's around 8 p.m. The last time I got paid for HOOY, it didn't hit until about 9/11. It hit at 9/11 p.m. So when we say 8 p.m., it could be as early as 8 p.m. It could be as late as 10 p.m. So somewhere in that window. All right. Roundhill is the fund family, no different than Vanguard, BlackRock, YieldMax. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for making us feel old. Appreciate that. We were in college and he was 4 years old. All right, I'm going to jump over to Facebook real quick and see if we got any questions over there. So, 30, good morning, peace and blessings. Yes, graduated from there as well. Yeah. Hey, all right, so we're good. Now, to the meat and potatoes, to the meat and potatoes. So, as I mentioned, I've been talking a lot about the YieldMax funds, and most of you who are familiar with the knowledge movement sessions and just this journey in general, I've consistently said that I like to get paid every week. So what I've been doing is taking 25% of my funds and splitting it across 4 different funds. So for week A, RBLY has been the fund that I've been focusing on. So I'm just going to bring it up. It's not supported yet because they haven't paid enough payouts. Week Group B, which is the second week, has been PLTY, and that one has an annualized dividend yield of 65%. That's for somebody who got in dating back to the inception. Anybody who knows me, period, knows that HOOY is the fund that I swear by, the fund that I might get a tattoo of. I don't even have a tattoo, but I might get one just because it's that fantastic. There's another 64% annualized dividend yield. And then many people have been going back and forth between MSTY for Group D. Lots of people have soured on it. But again, look at this annualized dividend yield of 100.98%. And then another one that people have been a fan of has been SMCY. SMCY has also done really well. Heard from a lot of knowledge movement members who have said, hey, I use SMCY and it's done well by me. Shout out to you all. Look at the annualized dividend yield, 102.83. So everybody who has been on this journey has heard typically those 4 funds. A lot of people have also heard about the fund ULTY. ULTY is a weekly payer. They've done really well in terms of its dividend yield. All of these are above 64% or greater. That's where we want to be. We want to be in the 64% range. So that's the name of the game. Now, I see a lot of people posting questions. Are you saying YETH or PLTW is better? We're going to get to that. I'm working my way up. So please stick around on the journey. We're going to get there. But what I want for everyone to understand is we've always essentially taken an approach of a weekly payout. I always knew that it was great, and it was in large part because I'm greedy and I want to get money faster. But yesterday taught me that it's really about the compounding. The compounding nature is what makes getting paid weekly so much more advantageous. And I'm going to show you why. So this tool of Dividend Hook enables for you to be able to compare funds to one another, and not just compare them, but compare outcomes. This is one of the best things that we could possibly do. When you're considering investing, you want to look at performance, but you also want to look at projections. And that projection is based on past performance. So whenever we're looking at the stock performance and whenever we're looking at the dividend history, we're trying to do an assessment and an evaluation of what could possibly come for us. Dividend Hook does a lot of that work for us. So everybody who knows me knows I'm all in on Hoy. Just so everyone is aware, and I always show receipts because I don't want anybody thinking that I'm just trying to sell people smoke and mirrors. No, I'm living this, and I've been living it for some years now. September 6th of 2022 was when I started this journey, and then December of 2024 is when I started with the dividend funds. So I'm coming up on 10 months in. Lots of people know that my stance on margin. I consistently say never use more than 50% of your margin. That's something which I learned. However, I'm hard-headed and I don't even take my own advice. I use 100% of my margin, and right now I am in a margin call. I intentionally left this current as a margin call so everyone can see what this looks like. Lots of people panic when they hear about margin because they think, oh my God, the sky is falling. It doesn't fall instantly. If you let it linger for between 2 to 3 days, it's going to fall. But it's not a case where I have to now say, oh my goodness, my life is over because I'm in a margin call. No, right now I have an individual account deficit of $4,001.83. This is what a margin call looks like. Robinhood is telling me that I've used too much margin. And the reason why I've used too much margin is because last Friday night, Robinhood deducted $4,300 in margin interest. So the margin gets paid out not on the last day of the month like I thought it did. It gets paid out on the last Friday of the month. So I was expecting to have another 3 days or 2 days because there's 30 days in September. Not so fast, my friend. Robinhood came calling for their $4,300 in interest, and that made me negative $4,000. I had a cushion of just $200, and that cushion got ate up from the margin interest. So I wanted to show everyone what it looks like. I got two options. The first option is I can go look in some seat cushions or go borrow some more money from my credit cards in order to come up with the $4,000. I'm probably going to do that for about $2,000 because right now I got an extra $2,000 that was in my checking account that I was saving for bills, but now that money's going to Robinhood. The other option that I'm going to use is I'm going to sell $2,000 worth of equities. All of these stocks that you see in this right-hand column are my equities. I own a lot of equities. I'm going to more than likely sell $2,000 worth of Hoy because I got 28,860 shares. By selling $2,000 worth, I'm then going to be able to eliminate my margin call. I'm not going to lose that much because my average share count price is $68.90 per share. Right now, Hoy is trading for $68.20. So in order to come up with $2,000 worth, 2,000 divided by 68.20, I have to sell 30 shares. I'm going to take a loss of 70 cents per share for those 30 shares times 0.70. So that means I'm going to lose $20. I'm going to clear my margin call by simply losing $20 on 30 shares of Hoy being sold. That's how a margin call works. I wanted to show everyone what that looks like because most people don't know how margin calls work and they're deathly afraid of them. There's nothing to be deathly afraid. You just need to be knowledgeable. So you either come up with cash or you sell positions, and it's ideal to sell positions that you possibly have made money on. But if you haven't, then just choose the one you're going to take the least loss on. All right. So what was the first fund? The first fund was RBLY. And I want to say thank you to everybody who's helping and answering questions in the chat. This is what this is all about. We're a community. We're in this together. This is not Mario's show. This is the knowledge movement, and we all should be working together to share knowledge. So thank you for that. Let's keep that momentum going. All right, now getting back to it. The purpose of, I wanted to show everybody my position in Hoy, because I don't want you guys thinking that I'm just selling, wolf tickets or smoking mirrors. Currently, I presently own $1.9 million worth of HOOY. $1 million of that is in margin. So when I tell you that I'm all in on Hoy, that is not an understatement. I don't have $2 million. However, Robinhood let me borrow $1 million, and it cost me $4,300 a month to do so. And I said, put it all on Hoy. So we're going to be using my actual numbers. This is the projection that I ran yesterday. So I want you guys to see it in real time. I currently own 28,860 shares of Hoy. That's my current share count. So the beautiful thing about Dividend Hook is you can go, not Hook, HOOY. So you can come to Hoy and it'll tell you that the annualized dividend yield is 64.03%. Remember, that's for somebody who purchased it dating back to May. I didn't get in May. I got in probably about late June. So that's not going to be my dividend yield, but it doesn't matter. It's okay. What you then can do is go down to where it says dividend calculator. And this is where it truly is fantastic. This is what makes the tool so incredible. My share count is 28,860. That's my current share count, 28,860. So now it gives you a projection, not only of what your next monthly dividend is, but also what your annual payout with compounding is. And this is the key. So I'm going to zoom in so everybody can see it better. I want for everybody, no matter what your age was or when you were graduating from high school or college, everybody, I want you to see this. With my current share count of 28,860, it projects my next monthly dividend to be about 104,000. Don't get lost in the sauce on that one. That's not the number we care about. What we really care about is the annual payout with compounding dividend reinvestment. According to this, it projects that over the course of the next year, I will see $1.7 million in dividends based on my existing share count. That's what we're talking about. That's what's so fantastic. That's what makes me say I don't need to keep working 16-hour days, because in the next year, I'm potentially going to receive dividends, which is more than what the average American makes in a lifetime. And that is something which is absolute, it's surreal. I still can't believe this is real life, but thankfully it is. I want for this to be real life for all 70 of you who are on the Zoom and everybody who's on Facebook Live. I hope every one of you gets rich, because being rich beats the pants off of being poor. I was poor for a long time, haven't been rich for a long time, but I'm confident it's better. So $1.7 million. And the other dope thing is you can move it over. Maybe you can't. Still working the kinks out. There we go. You can. You just got to click hard. $3 million in 2 years. I'm going to give y'all some money later. Just relax. $6 million in 3 years. $11 million in 4 years. And my 5-year plan, $21 million. And that's annual dividends. I got to stress this, guys. It's not accumulative. It's saying $20 million a year. Now, of course, these are projections. It's not guaranteed that it's going to continue at a 64% payout. All of this stuff is a risk. It's important that we understand that we're talking about securities. So there are no guarantees. We're not talking interest here. We're talking dividends. Does that number include the expense ratio? We don't have to worry about the expense ratio, but it doesn't include it. But thankfully, those dividend payouts are going to take care of the expense ratio. And yes, everyone, please receive those blessings. These blessings are for everyone. Know that it's not calculated via the website. It's PE ratios. Yep, great job, AP. Appreciate it. How is the NAV erosion impacting the payout? We're going to talk about that. Great question. Thanks for asking that. But right now, I want for everybody to see this is what the projection looks like. We're going to focus on the 1 year, 1.7 million. That's what Hoy is potentially sending my way. Now, we're going to compare that to HOOW. That's what this is all about. This major announcement is about comparing, assessing, and evaluating the funds. Well, we want to take an apples to watermelons, as I said to JP on yesterday. We're doing an apples comparison to a watermelon comparison because I'm a big fan of watermelons. And if you've ever seen Bamboozle, they have a comment that says that watermelons are a certain type of apple. If you've seen Bamboozle, my favorite movie of all time, you'll get that reference. But we're comparing watermelons to apples. All right, sorry, y'all. Go watch Bamboozle, phenomenal movie. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing. How many shares do we own? Well, first I got to convert my Hoy shares into HOOW shares. And what that looks like is how much is HOOW selling for? So I'm going to go to Robinhood. I'm going to type in HOOW. Right now, HOOW is trading for an even $70. Even Steven. Great job, HOOW. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to compare my current portfolio value in Hoy, and I'm going to use that same dollar amount. If I were to sell all my Hoy on Sunday night, tonight at 7 p.m., I would then get this amount, $1.96 million. So we're going to do it, $1,968,252. And this is when I say to everyone, again, none of this is financial advice. None of this is my recommendation. I am probably as big of a risk taker as any of you will ever meet. I like to live fast. I like to go fast. I like to be aggressive. I do not suggest following my lead as it relates to this unless you understand the consequences. That's why I do these workshops. So $1,968,252 divided by $70 per share gives me a new share count. And I'm going to share this on the calculator so everybody can see what I did. So here's my new share count. I took the same amount of Hoy that I own, sell it all. Once I sell it all, that money becomes available. I then purchase HOOW. Excuse me. I now have 28,117.88 shares. That's my new share count. So now I'm going to take that same number and I'm just going to go back to dividendhook.com. Here we go. And then I'm going to put in that new share count. My new share count is 28,117. 28,117. Okay, I'm going to give you guys some money. Relax. Take a look at the new projection. The new projection for 1 year's worth of dividends
is 3 million.
3,479,156.43. It's double. It is more than double. All right, I know everyone's excited. I know everyone's excited. This is how I felt last night, y'all. When I told y'all I had a major announcement, this is the same way. So let me collect myself. Let me take a drink. All right. I know everyone is excited. I'm excited too. And the reason why I'm excited is because it's exactly what we've been thinking. The reason why we set up 25% to each fund was so that we could get paid weekly. But the problem is we were essentially splitting our capital 4 ways, which now cuts our profits 4 ways. Whereas in this case, because HOOW is performing just as well as HOOY, when we get paid out every week, we now are increasing our position, which now allows for us to get more dividends, which allows for it to compound faster. And when we compound faster, it grows faster. It's just the most basic of math. And it's based on just understanding the performance of the funds. So, come on. All right. So now the question is in there is, so is Mario selling Hoy and buying HOOW? Anybody who knows Mario already knew the answer to that question. Now, I want to stress, remember, our record date is Friday, end of business Friday. So Mario has Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday to wait for HOOY to return to the price of $68.90 or greater, so that he can now make money on the sale of those shares and still get in time for Friday for HOOW and get paid next Tuesday. This is just the most amazing information, and I cannot believe that I've been missing it all this time, but I also can't believe that I was able to figure it out. And again, I want for everybody to have this information. Some people would have found it out, took advantage of it, and then just sat on it, and then eventually shared it. It's not how I get down, y'all. I want for everybody to win. That's what this is about. So that's the answer. Yes, LOL, after hours trade submitted. I'm with you. I am with you. Make sure to leverage drip or falling knife to reinvest those payouts to keep the payout going. Great point, Jesse. Jesse is like the pixie. He's like the angel pixie on the shoulder, and I'm the devil pixie on the shoulder, which is why we make such a great team. I am taking it all in, but I would definitely have to replay this one back a few times. This is exciting. I agree. Remember, the playback will be available on YouTube, the law offices of Mario A. Reed. None of this is financial advice. I don't care what you do with your money. I'm just trying to get $3 million in the next year. And HOOW. Hey, Mario, Jesse said lunch is on you today. All right, JP. Anybody who's able to make it to the law offices of Mario A. Reed by 10:30 a.m., you can get lunch. But remember, you got to get inside, the door's locked. So don't come. Don't come. I'm being facetious. Do not come. All right, let me jump over to Facebook, see if we got any questions. Any questions? Any questions? If you got questions, go ahead and ask them now. Right now is the time. I'm going to answer all questions before I move on to continuing the evaluation. There was a question earlier about NAV erosion. I want to make sure to address that. I'm going to address NAV erosion, and that's one of the parts of assessing and evaluating these funds. If you've got questions, go ahead and post them on the Facebook. I'm looking at Facebook now, so now's a good time. If you have them on Zoom, go ahead and ask them. Thankfully, I can answer those virtually at any time. All right, let me check the chat. Yes, yes, I'm with it. I am definitely with it. Looking forward to building that. All right, so my question is, I'm new at this. I've opened my Robinhood account. I've transferred funds. Next, I've not pulled the trigger yet. Reason I'm not this and really don't know what I'm doing, and you can address this question at the end of the session. No, I'm not. So great question, Ms. Fair. Thank you for asking it. And I want to make sure everybody is comfortable. None of us are, well, I don't know, maybe some of you are experienced traders. I'm not going to assume or presume anything. I'm still a baby in this. 3 years in the game, and I've been feeling my way through with the assistance of some great support and resources, but we're all new to this. I believe it's less than 30% of all Americans have an individual brokerage account. A lot of us have 401ks, IRAs, and Roths, but the brokerage company is doing a lot of the trading. So less than 30% of Americans are familiar with this. So don't feel as if though you need to be ashamed because you don't know how to execute a trade. That's the reason why I do the videos. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to do a video of executing a trade on Robinhood. Episode 8 on the YouTube page is for Charles Schwab. I'm going to do one, which is probably going to be episode 15, which is going to be how to execute a trade on your phone using Robinhood. Hopefully your phone's not broken like mine, but times are tough, so you got to make it work. Now, don't feel as if, though, you have to be ashamed because you don't know. That's the reason why we do the workshops. I'm not fast and not a big risk taker. I realize you are not advice, but we are new at this, don't know where to go. So where to go is to continue to get information. So many people think that this is a case where you're going to show up to these workshops and I'm going to say something and then you're just going to do that instantly and it's going to work the same way it has. That's not how this works, everyone. That's not the purpose of this. The purpose of this is not for me to do your homework. The purpose for me is to be of a resource, another guide, another tool in your tool belt. So one of the things that you can do for anybody is you can just invest in the S&P 500. SPY is a great resource. It has an annualized average return of about 13%, so you can go that route. As I always educate about with the dividends, every 4 weeks, every week, you can get paid. So if you're still not comfortable, keep on researching. But don't feel as if though I'm going to be able to say, hey, this is what you got to do, and then it's just going to magically work. My goal is to share the information, but you make the decisions. Wow is right. All right, so when you type HOOW in Robinhood, it brings up a warning message about leverage. Can you explain why this warning message we get versus not getting it with HOY? Yes, that's a really good question, and thank you for that. That warning message is that it's a leveraged fund. And what leveraged means is that it is using a different stock in order to give a greater return. So leveraged funds simply use what's called an underlying stock, which in this case is Robinhood. The stock symbol for HOOW is Robinhood. HOOD is the ticker symbol for Robinhood, the company. HOOW is the Roundhill fund, which is trading stock options on HOOD, and it's paying out a dividend every week. Because it's using HOOD in order to trade stock options, it is seeking to give a 2x return, or no, I think it's 1.25. It's attempting to give a 1.25x return of whatever HOOD is providing. So that message is telling you that it's leveraged. Why is that important? Because when times are good, you're going to get 1.25 times the performance. When times are bad, you're going to get 1.25 times the performance. So it's like any good relationship where it's not all sweet. You need to be aware that sometimes it's going to be a good relationship and you're going to get 1.25 times. Sometimes it's going to be a bad relationship and you're going to feel 1.25 times worth of the bad relationship. In my case, because I'm not concerned about the actual share price, I'm concerned about the dividend payout. So that's what that message is. HOY is not necessarily seeking to give you 1.25 times of the performance. So the reason why you don't get that message is because HOY is saying we're trying to run parallel to whatever HOOD is doing. So HOOY is trying to match HOOD dollar for dollar. HOOW is trying to exceed it by 0.25% or a 25% better return. So that's the reason why. That's a great question. Thank you for asking that. What is HOOW? Great job. Thank you. Is there a video on the drip strategy? So thank you for answering that one, Jesse. Now, there is a video on, no, I'm sorry, there's not a video on the falling knife strategy. I plan on doing that one soon. All right. Mario explains NAV erosion video. Thanks for posting that. Question to Mario: when you do plan to sell HOY to buy HOW, are you selling 100% of shares and buying 100% all at once? Yes. Yes, I am. I don't half step. It's never been my nature. I don't like it. I believe in the Bible. It talks about what God thinks of people who are lukewarm. I'm not really into that all that much, but I am big on you run either hot or cold. Either you love me or you hate me. Either I love or I hate something. I don't typically straddle things. I'm going to go 100%. And the reason why I'm going to go 100% is because dividend hook. So let me make sure that everybody is seeing my screen because, again, I just want to compare it. Whenever I make a decision, I've done the projections, I've done the computations. I usually do them for hours on end. Yesterday, I was up to about 11:45 and I'm just running the numbers. I'm doing the computations. This morning when I wake up, I'm doing them again. I'm double, I'm triple, I'm checking them. Once it is that the maths, then I'm not going to sit around and wait because the last thing I want to do is regret not having moved. So my projection for annual dividends, 1 year worth of dividends with 28,117 shares of HOOW is $3.5 million. Why I would not take every penny that I have and do that just doesn't make sense to me. But everybody's got to do what works best for them. Please do not follow my lead and then come back 3 months from now and say, you told me to do this, because I'm going to tell you, you're a lie. I'm going to say it just like that. You're a lie. I didn't tell you to do anything. I just shared information and I was transparent about what I was doing. Some people have said, oh, when you make a pivot or when you change, you should update everyone. Okay, I'm updating everyone. Pivot and change incoming. But don't then turn around and come back a few weeks later, a few months later and say, oh, I pivoted and changed and it didn't work out for me. Okay, well, if it's not working out for me, I'm a pivot and change again. But $3.4 million is definitely what looks like it's going to work out for me. I'm going to follow this until I get some new information. I'm not going to lie to anybody and suggest that, again, I got it figured out. What I did find out is that this can potentially earn me more than HOOY. That's why I'm making this decision. That's a personal choice. Do not follow me unless you're comfortable with the potential consequences. If you initially invested, started your account with 10,000 under that ETF, it says negative 3,000 on total return, but your all-time data shows 10,015, then you really aren't losing any money, correct? That is correct. That's a great insight. That's a great comment. The total return that your brokerage company, so as an example, if everyone looks at my total return, it shows that I'm negative $20,000. That's inaccurate. I'm not negative 20,000. I'm actually up over $100,000 because every time I've gotten paid out the dividends, that number is money that I made. So it's important to understand that this total return doesn't take into account the dividends, especially if you reinvested the dividends, but even if you didn't reinvest. So that's why it's so important that we have a full understanding of how these funds work, because it's not just as simple as looking at your brokerage account and then being able to deduce how much you've made. There's a lot that goes into it. But in this case, once it is, and I'm going to set a limit order. So kind of going back to what JP was talking about with the falling knife strategy, you can actually do it in reverse. So I'm going to set a limit order probably at about $69.50 because I'm trying to, again, I'm greedy. So I'm trying to see a little bit of profit on the selling the shares. If the share price gets to above $69.50 between now and Thursday, it's going to automatically execute the trade. Once it executes the trade, all of the money becomes available. I'm then going to go in and I'm going to purchase shares of HOOW using the falling knife strategy. For those who are unfamiliar with the falling knife strategy, there's a post in the group Kipwa which explains it. Eventually, I'm going to do a video, but for now, just know that I'm going to end up purchasing a total of 28,500 shares of HOOW before close of market on Friday at 3 p.m. I'm not going to risk it. I'm not going to risk it to get the biscuit. I'm going to purchase 28,500 shares of HOOW before Friday at 3 p.m. That will ensure that I'm going to now get a dividend payout next Tuesday. I'm going to take those dividends and I'm going to do it all over again. And I'm just going to keep on recycling. I'm now no longer waiting 4 weeks to get paid. I'm getting paid every week. I'm taking what I get paid and my margin, and I'm purchasing more of this dividend paying equity exchange trading fund, and I'm just compounding and letting it build astronomically. All right, so I'm going to pause here to see about more questions. So, all right, so Eric, I've answered that. Absolutely. Risk is individual. That is correct. Risk is individual, and it's a case where everybody you need to establish your tolerance level. One of the things that I wish I would have known when I started on this journey is defining my tolerance level. Before you embark down this path, for those of you who haven't, but this is in general with life, you need to define your tolerance level. If you're starting a new relationship, you need to define your tolerance level. What am I willing to accept in this relationship? If you're starting a new job, what am I willing to accept from my employer before I promote them to customer? What's your risk and tolerance level? Great point. And when is that? When you're buying and selling daytime, if you don't mind me asking. Yes. So I'm setting my limit order at 69.50, and that's to sell. And that's going to be set tonight by 7 p.m. If it exceeds $69.50, then all the money is going to be purchased. I'm then going to set up the falling knife strategy with the $1.9 million worth of available buying power, so that way I can continue to accumulate shares at the most effective price point. What happens if HOY falls? If HOY falls, I still get a dividend. Broker Munir, I'm going to hopefully be able to figure out a way to help it make more sense for you. But remember, I do not care about the share price of HOY. I only care about the dividend payout, which is based on my share value. So if HOY falls, I celebrate. I throw a party. I go and I hug people. I kiss babies because I'm getting a discount on a dividend paying equity. So you actually should be expecting more than $3 million if you're reinvesting your dividends and margin. Great catch, Jess. Great catch. Dividend hook doesn't take into account that I'm using margin. And that's what's even sweeter about all of this. What if HOY falls and you bought HOOW at 2X's? What is the effect of that transaction? There is no effect. Don't get lost in the sauce, Broker Munir. You keep going through the hypotheticals. Don't worry about those hypotheticals. Use your resources, because we don't have to speculate if I'm buying HOOW at 2X, because I'm buying HOOW at $70. We just looked at it. We're not dealing with speculatives. We're not dealing with theoreticals. I'm going to sell my HOOY and I'm going to purchase the HOOW around $70, possibly even for less. So we don't need to do hypotheticals about that. Is Mario selling all YieldMax funds and moving over to Roundhill equivalent funds? So right now, I essentially own just one YieldMax fund. I own $1.9 million worth of HOY. I own a single share of others. I have a share of PLTY. I have a share of NVDY. I have a share of RBLY. I have a share of HIYY. I'm going to keep those. And that's just to be able to track the performance, for me to be able to be educated about those funds when people ask me questions. That's it. HOOY is the sole fund that I have hitched my whole life to. Everything that Mario owns is invested in HOOY for the most part. It is, and let me just show, because again, I don't want anybody thinking that I'm just making this stuff up as I go. This is real life. I believe in showing receipts. So, in making sure everybody has the receipts, here's the receipts. HOOY is the stock symbol. It accounts for 98.95% of my portfolio. There is no diversity. So when it says portfolio diversity, there is none. I am 99% invested in HOOY. So yes, I'm going to sell 100% of my HOOY, and then at which point I am going to go to HOOW. Great question. The reason why is because of this. For those people who are saying that I'm reckless, it's actually not. It's the opposite of being reckless. It's informed. I'm very educated about these funds, and that's what I wanted for all of you. When we look at these funds, I want for everybody to post which funds you own. I want for everybody, whether it's on Facebook or whether it's in Zoom, post which funds you own. Post which funds you own in the chat. All right, not worried about it, but this is a normal trend for them. Is HOOW more volatile with weekly payouts? Will you see more stock prices fluctuating during the payout times? So volatility is good, and that's the reason why the payouts are what they are. How do you handle the taxes related? Kiowa, I look forward to seeing you in October. I'm not addressing taxes on this, but at all 3 of the sessions in October, I address taxes. So come on out. All right. HOOY, PLTY, perfect. ULTY and MSTY. All right. I want everybody, this is the evaluation process that you should be going through. You're going to go to Google and you're going to type in PLTY stock performance. When you do that, you're going to look at the 6 months, the last 6-month performance. PLTY has appreciated by 9.97%. That is fantastic. Anytime that you have a fund which has paid, that has appreciated over the last 6 months, that's a good thing. Somebody else posted ULTY. ULTY stock performance. Last 6 months. Negative 11.27%. This is NAV erosion. For everybody who's saying, what about NAV erosion? This is NAV erosion. It's when your share price consistently goes down. It's not something you have to be terrified about. It's not something you have to be petrified about, so long as you're reinvesting your dividends and purchasing more shares, because you're building up your equity position. But ideally, we don't want this. If you've got a choice between one which is negative and one which is positive, we always want the one which is positive. Somebody else posted MSTY. So we're going to do MSTY stock performance. MSTY last 6 months, negative 33%. Again, it's not something to be terrified about or petrified, but if we've got a choice between negative 33 and positive 9%, we want the positive 9%. I'm going to take a few more. We're going to do a few more. LFGY. Excellent. That one's a weekly payer. Thank you for sharing that. LFGY stock performance. That's a yield max weekly payer. We're going to look at 6 months. 0.11%. That's a good thing. We want appreciation, not depreciation. We want appreciation, not share price decay. NVDY. NVDY stock performance is 6 months, 5.42%. Hopefully everybody's getting the gist of this. We want green over the last 6 months. We don't want red. If it is red, it's not the end of the world as long as we're purchasing more shares. But if we're purchasing more shares and it's green, we're winning on both sides of the coin. That's the name of the game. We want to win on both sides of the coin. Now, most of you also typed in HOOY, very similar to myself. Positive 27.22%. Anybody who even suggested that I was being reckless by going all in on the only fund that's doing positive 20+%, Again, we don't have a full understanding of it. I'm not being reckless. I'm being the opposite. People who are going with anything less than 20%, and definitely people who are going with negative, that's the recklessness because it's not giving as great of a return. Remember, just because I go with HOOY today doesn't mean that I have to stay with HOOY. It's only reckless if I continue to see it go in the wrong direction and don't pivot. But going with the positive, the best of the bunch, isn't reckless. If somebody said to you, look, if you want, I'll let you drive 4 vehicles in the course of a month. Every single week, you can drive a vehicle. The first week, you can drive an Aston Martin. The second week, you can drive a Toyota. The third week, you can drive a Honda. And the fourth week, you can drive a smart car. If somebody gave you that option and you said, I need diversity, I need to be able to drive 4 different cars, or they said, you can drive the Aston Martin all month, which one is going to be reckless? The one where you say, don't give me the best for all 4 weeks. So as it turns out, in my humble opinion, it's not reckless to get the best for all 4 weeks. It's reckless to say, I got to diversify just so that I can say I'm not being reckless. If you get educated and you get informed, you'll quickly understand it's not reckless, it's lucrative. So all of the other funds don't have the appreciation of HOOY. Now, we got to take a look at HOOW, because that's what I'm talking about rolling with. So I'm talking about rolling with 31.45%. It's even better than HOOY. So I get paid weekly. I have a greater share appreciation, and it's using the underlying stock of Robinhood. Robinhood is doing incredibly well. Last Monday, it was added to the S&P 500. That's how well it's doing. So for the foreseeable future, I anticipate it doing well. But remember, if some major scandal happens with Robinhood and the share price tumbles and my dividend goes down, then forget you, Robinhood. On to the next one. I got no loyalty. While I'm a fan of Robinhood, I am not married to Robinhood. I didn't take no vows. I'm not for better or worse. I'm only for better. The second you get worse, I'm out of there. Sounds like it went to me. Disregard, I did not click 6 months. Actually, yeah. So getting familiar with the tools is so essential. That's why I wanted to do this workshop, because these tools are so helpful. One person put in Babel. Shout out to you. Most people don't have Babel. That's very bold. I love it. I love it. I love to see the boldness. Babel's 6-month performance is negative 6.85%. Again, nothing to be worried about. Don't panic and say, oh my God, I'm heading down the wrong track. As long as you are reinvesting, you're winning with all of these funds. It's just if your fund is appreciating, you're winning more. And I like to win more. That's the reason why I move the way I move. I have no problem taking a $90,000 loss in the temporary in order to see a $300,000 gain in the 3-month or the 6-month projection. It's all about having the knowledge and the information. What I meant by reckless is, I hate to say if, but if Robinhood were the next Sears and went bankrupt, the ETF would disappear, correct? No, it would not. Because again, remember, the ETFs aren't just backed by Robinhood. This is why we have to get educated. Go to the ETF and look at its holdings. So go to the ETF and look at its holdings. It has United States Treasury bills. 57% of the ETF is Treasury bills. So even if Palantir went out of business, that's only 20% of the fund. I cannot stress to you guys how important it is that we get educated, because the more we know, the more comfortable you can feel about these things. I have no concerns whatsoever because 57% is the treasury bills. So these funds are set up to handle major drops, such as a company going bankrupt. Do you plan to use stop losses for good? If not, what's your mental stop area you're thinking of if a potential price drop in price? That's a really good question. I personally don't use stop losses. Jesse gets on me about it. And the reason why is because I like to drive fast. So I enjoy, some of my enjoyment from this comes from being able to watch it throughout the day and just see and make those decisions. I feel like the movies a little bit. I welcome those who are familiar with stop losses. A stop loss is when you set the price point where it'll automatically trigger a sell if the stock share price drops to that price. For those people who do not have a high risk tolerance, you can do that. Yes. All right. So thank you, JP. Everybody, please make sure to check out the comments that Jesse's putting in. It's invaluable. Jesse is a wealth of information and offers the links to be able to go and find. I'm gonna head back over to Facebook. All right, TSLY. Not worried about TSLY. Thank you for posting that. TSLY is a fund which had been doing poorly. So I'm really glad that somebody posted that, because this is a case study on why you don't need to get like completely insane about MSTY's performance, because just like what happened with Tesla. So when we look at the 6-month performance, Tesla has appreciated by 12.26%, but go look at the year to date. It's negative 30.61%. MSTY is right now in the NAV decay, the NAV erosion, the same kind of NAV erosion that Tesla experienced when Elon Musk had his public feud with Donald Trump. His stock price, Tesla, was dropping like a rock. So sure enough, Tesla was going to reflect that. However, when we look at the 6-month performance, it's now back on the appreciation, the incline. This is what is likely to happen with MSTY. MSTY's underlying stock is MicroStrategy, MSTR. MicroStrategy buys Bitcoin. Bitcoin is in a bit of a lull. So that's the reason why you're seeing the NAV erosion, the decay. But Bitcoin could take off tomorrow. Donald Trump could announce that the United States government is now purchasing Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin will go through the roof, which will then mean that MicroStrategy will go through the roof, which will then mean that MSTY will go through the roof. So this is why I do not fear just because one of these funds' share prices is dropping. Tesla is a case study about it. I cannot stress, please go research. The more research you do, the more comfortable you'll feel. This is why I feel so comfortable. Think it's a good move to trade all my Y symbols to W then. So I'm personally going from the 4-week payers to the weekly payers. I know it to be a great move for me. I can't answer whether it's a great move for you because that's on you. And as we all have learned throughout this workshop, you got to do what's best for you. I know what's best for me. When I do my comparison, I like 3,479,156 more than I like HOOY, more than I like 28,860, 1,679,603. It's as simple as the numbers. Men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie. We don't know for sure that it's going to be these amounts, but it's telling you based on past performance, this is potentially what you can anticipate. So it's giving you the data and allowing you to make the best decision. And as Jess was so kind to point out, my numbers are going to be even larger because I'm using margin. So In the case of HOOW, if we just use margin at a 1-to-1 ratio, which is what I've been doing, 28,116. If we use margin at a 1-to-1 ratio, this number should be $7 million in 1 year. $7 million. So it's not even a question. Like, I don't know why anyone would even formulate that question of what it is that Mario is going to do, because if Mario has a choice between $7 million or even $3.2 million, then Mario's always going to do $7 million, because with $7 million, I'm about to change my community. I am going to, if need be, I am going to lobby every state senator and state representative in the state of Illinois to implement the flat tax initiative that I've been working on for the last 10 years. I'm going to pay off people's property tax bills. I'm going to become Bruce Wayne. Just get ready for me to be the Black Batman. That's what I'm getting ready to do. I'm going to start fighting crime. I'm going to get a suit and I'm going to go and I'm going to clean up the streets of Chicago. I'm going to get rid of all of these guns. I am about to become Batman. So $7 million is going to ensure that I can help young people, elderly people, disabled people, purple people. Everybody is about to get help. This $7 million is going to ensure that everybody can get help. So that's what it is that I am about to do. All right. Questions. Could you go over the strategy different between HOY as CC versus HOOW is leveraged 120%, and I don't think CC, pros versus cons. What's CC? So Sam, I need for you to spell what's CC. I don't know what that is. HOY as all right. So real quick, the difference is HOOW is paying weekly. Because it's paying weekly, I'm getting new capital. Because I get the new capital, I'm able to purchase more shares, which increases my dividend payout. Whereas with HOOY, I have to wait 4 weeks before I get new capital. And then once I get that new capital, then I'm able to add new shares, which gets me new dividends. But then I got to wait a whole nother 4 weeks. So the strategy behind HOOW versus HOOY is simply that I'm getting an infusion of new capital quicker. Every time I get new capital, I use it to purchase more of a dividend-paying equity that's going to pay me more. So the compounding nature is what allows for me to get more money, because I'm adding new money weekly as opposed to new money every 4 weeks. That's the pro. The con is that, I guess, if you think getting more money is a con, like Biggie said, more money, more problems, maybe. But that's not my favorite Biggie song. So at which point, I don't see it as a con. More money, more problems I'm about to solve. Covered call. Thank you. Both of them are covered calls. They're both using covered call strategies. So HOOW is using the synthetic covered call strategy, as is HOOY. When you go back to HOY when it's time for the big payout next month, they recycle. Rob, you know me well. I'm not going to speak on that because that's a little bit too complicated to cover in the next 6 minutes. But the answer is yes. I'm greedy. And because the dates line up, I can do so. Remember, we have to have our record date for Wednesday by 3 p.m. for HOOY. October 15th, I'm going to own HOOY again. I'm going to get paid on October 17th. I'm going to sell my HOOY on October 16th, and then at which point I'm going to go back. But again, I'm not going to delve too far into that. If you're not in the Kipwa group, if you are not in the KIPWA group, you can go to Facebook, type in KIPWA. It's this group. It says it's private. You can send an invite, and then, or you can send a request, and then at which point I'll be able to let you in. If I don't know who you are, then at which point I might ask you which funds you have and which workshop you've attended. And that's because I want no negative energy in the group. I want for you to understand that we are like-minded individuals who are just trying to do better for ourselves. Nobody's backbiting. Nobody's trying to talk bad about anybody. We don't even care. We're not taking pictures of food. We're not looking at, we have one goal in mind, and that's to get money to help our communities, to help our families, and grow our legacy. If you're not interested in that, or you thinking about something else, you will not make the cut. You will then be kicked out. I do not hold any punches about that. I am not here to try and win a beauty contest or a popularity contest. I want for us to move forward in advance. That's what this group is about. If you go in that group, then at which point I'm going to explain again the strategy. But to answer the question, yes, I will own Hoy by October 15th at 3 p.m. So great question. All right, I'm going to take all questions now. All questions. We are now in the question section. What day of the week do I need to own to get paid for HOOW? Thank you for answering that one. Appreciate it. Love it. Here to win. I want for every one of us to win. I want for every person to win, because that's what this life is about. Life is short. You should win. Make sure you have your affairs in order. I recently also announced, even though the game plan was to retire from new clients and never take them again, I can't do new people wrong just because they didn't know about me and know about what we do here. January 12th of 2026, we will start scheduling new clients for estate planning again. Those new clients will be seen in April and beyond. I'm only going to work 3 days a week, y'all. And I'm only going to work from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. So if you can't make one of those appointments, then unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to help you. But I am going to begin taking new clients again, but it's going to be on a limited basis. I always dreamed of not working on Fridays, and I'm going to get my dream. So that's the announcement that I have. All right. Yeah, not pictures of food. That's correct. Jesse is putting great information in the group. Make sure that you take advantage. When will this be available on YouTube? I need for Jarrell to listen to it. Yes, you do. It's going to be available tomorrow. So after I finish with this call, I got to file several probate actions. I got to send out certifications of trust. And then I got to go see my niece, Skylar, at her recital in Oswego. I cannot stress to you guys, love on your family. So this is just a public service announcement. Love on your family. Be there for your family. Show up for your family. If you got a niece doing a recital, I hate recitals because the music don't even sound good. And at which point the kids, they're kids. So it's not going to sound good. But show up and show out to make sure that your loved ones know that you support them. You're there for them. That's just a little soapbox. I'm off of it. All right. What does the distribution rate mean in the 30-day SEC yield when we pull up a fund from YieldMax? Why is this beneficial for us to know? It's beneficial because it's giving you an idea about what that payout is representative of for just that payment. However, you want to use the tools that I just went through instead. That's what I would recommend. What is KIPWA? KIPWA is knowledge is power when applied. Thank you for answering that, Gina. Greatly appreciate it. How do I join? Yep, great job. Okay, all right. I'm going over to Facebook to see if there are questions on that one. Again, I apologize to the people on Facebook Live. It's really hard to navigate and manage both. Will payouts from HOOW be there in time to switch to HOOD? Yes, it will. You are on the right wavelength, Randy. Shout out to you. E-Trade. You can do this in E-Trade. Nina, you buy through your brokerage accounts. Fidelity, right? Thank you for answering that. If there were other questions later on, I'm going to go back. It's 10:29. Happy birthday. But I'm going to shout out. I'm going to try and answer all of those. What if you don't want to take the dividend payout but just keep reinvesting? That's what DRIP is. Dividend Reinvestment Program. It's an option that's available in your brokerage account. There's a video about it. Go watch episode 8 on YouTube at the law offices of Mario A. Reed. For now, I just want my investment to grow. I'm with you. That's what I've been doing for the last 9 months. I've been dripping my way through growing this portfolio. Can we print out the Zoom chat? I don't know. I think that there's an option. What I'll do is I'll check and see if it's available. If so, I'll post it in the group. So great question. Thank you for that. All right, it looks like the answer. Yep, so it looks like there is. There's three little dots. Thank you, Gina. Thank you. Thank you to everybody who is helping us navigate this. It can be safe. That's what this is about. This is community. All right, last questions. Last questions. You got 60 seconds. If you got a question, ask it, ask it, ask it. AI Companion, thank you for that. Greatly appreciate it. I appreciate you all. It is, so it's not a day off. I'm working with clients today, but I had to get this information out. I could barely sleep. I woke up at like 6 a.m. and I was just buzzing. I wanted to get this information out. I'm excited that it's here. You can watch the playback. If anybody has not seen or known, I'll be doing 3 workshops related to this in person. Those dates are posted on my Facebook. I'm going to update my cover page to it, my cover photo. It's going to become this one. All 3 dates, the knowledge movement. Apparently, nobody's coming, but that's okay because I'm going to be there. So the knowledge movement sessions, Sunday, October 12th at 2:30 p.m. That's going to be at Unity Christian Academy. You can get there as early as 2. I'm trying to work with the church to get the church. Last month, I apologize. It was super hot. We ran out of chairs. People were on the floor. I'm trying to address it. But if not, we're going to be in the gym, and I recommend getting there by 2 p.m. Tuesday, October 14th, we'll be at the Kroc Center. The Kroc Center is a beautiful facility as well, but it only holds about 90 people. So again, I recommend a ride by 5:30 p.m. Beautiful location, but it's limited. Saturday, October 18th, we're going to be at Hope Church. That's one of the biggest venues, but it's also one of the furthest venues for myself. That's one of the longest workshops. We go from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. You can get there as early as 9:30. Please, when you arrive, make sure to sign up. I'm going to be doing a raffle at all 3 workshops. I'm going to be doing a raffle. You have the potential to potentially win between $75 and $100. So please make sure you show up on time. We're going to be doing a raffle. Did I keep any Palantir stocks or did I switch everything over to ETFs? Yes, I left Palantir a long time ago. That goes to show how long it's been. And I left Palantir a long time ago. I used to regret it, but now I'm so happy I did it because I've learned so much. I would have been rich had I kept my Palantir, but I'm rich in knowledge. So I'm grateful that I now have wealth and knowledge. And now I just got to wait another year and potentially I'll have $7 million. Am I going to put everything into HOOW? Please watch the video playback. Watch the video playback. The answer to that is there. All right, everyone, it's 10:33. Everyone, please love on your family. Have a great remainder of this September. Make sure to continue to do your research. Remember, this is not financial advice. This is not me trying to persuade or encourage you. Enjoy the day. Have a great Sunday. Peace be unto you. And as always, stay curious. Take care, everyone. Have a great one and enjoy.